this episode, we're going to shift the spotlight from the outside world to your own environment, because one of the most durable sources of threat intelligence is the telemetry you generate internally every day. Beginners often think threat intelligence is mostly external, like reports, feeds, and headlines. But internal telemetry is where relevance becomes real because it reflects what is actually happening to your systems, your users, and your business processes. Internal telemetry also has a special advantage. It can be repeatedly mined and compared over time, which means it can produce durable insights about what normal looks like, what abnormal looks like, and what risk patterns persist in your environment. The key is to treat internal telemetry as an intelligence source, not just as operational data, and to approach it with clear questions and disciplined interpretation. When you mine internal telemetry well, you stop reacting blindly to external noise and start building a steady, evidence-based picture of your own exposure and threat reality. That is the kind of intelligence win that keeps paying off because it strengthens both detection and decision-making over the long term. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is a companion to our course companion books. The first book is about the exam and provides detailed information on how to pass it best. The second book is a Kindle-only ebook that contains 1,000 flashcards that can be used on your mobile device or Kindle. Check them both out at cyber.author.me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. To mine internal telemetry effectively, it helps to define telemetry in a simple way that includes more than just network data. Internal telemetry can include authentication events, endpoint activity, system logs, application logs, cloud service activity, configuration change records, and alerts produced by monitoring systems. Each type of telemetry captures a different slice of reality, and the value comes from combining slices into a coherent story rather than treating each source as a separate universe. Beginners sometimes focus on the flashiest source and ignore the others, but durable wins come from correlation, because correlation turns isolated clues into patterns. Another reason internal telemetry is powerful is that it is contextual by default, since it already includes your asset names, your user identities, and your system roles. External sources often require translation before they mean anything, but internal telemetry starts close to your own decisions. When you accept internal telemetry as a first-class intelligence source, you begin to invest in understanding it, and that investment compounds over time. A durable intelligence win begins with choosing the right questions, because internal telemetry can support almost any question, but not all questions are worth asking. The best questions are those that reduce uncertainty for important decisions, such as which systems appear most exposed, which behaviors deviate from normal in ways consistent with threat activity, and which weak points repeatedly appear across incidents. Questions can also be strategic, like what recurring patterns suggest long-term risk trends, or operational, like what kinds of suspicious activity appear most frequently and require better prioritization. Beginners sometimes try to ask everything at once, which leads to vague analysis and weak conclusions. A better approach is to pick a narrow question that you can actually answer with available telemetry, then expand as you learn more. This is the same discipline you used when writing requirements and selecting sources, just applied inward. When you can clearly state what you are trying to learn from internal telemetry, you can filter noise and extract meaning more reliably. One of the most important concepts for durable wins is baseline building, because baseline is the reference that makes anomalies and trends visible. Baseline is not a single number or a fixed rule. It is a living understanding of normal behavior across users, devices, services, and time. For example, normal authentication behavior includes typical login hours, typical geographic patterns, and expected frequency of failures and successes. Normal endpoint behavior includes what kinds of processes typically run on a given role, what software is installed, and how frequently updates occur. Normal network behavior includes common destinations and typical volumes by role. Without baseline, you can still see events, but you cannot confidently interpret whether they are meaningful. Baseline building is a durable win because the better your baseline becomes, the faster you can spot meaningful deviation and the less you waste time on harmless noise. Over time, baseline becomes a kind of internal map that makes your environment legible. Mining internal telemetry for durable wins also means learning to think in patterns over time rather than single-event drama, because intelligence is often about recurrence and trend. A single suspicious event can be important, but a recurring pattern can reveal systemic weakness, such as repeated credential misuse attempts against a specific service, repeated suspicious connections from a specific segment, or repeated misconfigurations appearing after changes. Recurrence suggests that the issue is not random, which means a durable fix may be possible, such as improving configuration controls, enhancing monitoring, or adjusting access policies. Beginners often chase the loudest event of the day, which creates a reactive posture and prevents learning. Pattern thinking helps you become proactive because you begin to see what keeps happening and why. This is also where internal telemetry can outperform external reporting because it reveals what is repeatedly true in your environment. Durable wins often come from recognizing patterns early and addressing their root causes. A key technique for extracting durable insights is linking telemetry to asset context, because the same event can have very different meaning depending on what system it involves. An unusual login to a low-impact system might be less urgent than a subtle anomaly on a system that holds sensitive data or has privileged network access. An external connection from a user workstation might be normal, while the same behavior from a server that should not initiate outbound traffic might be a high-confidence signal. Asset context includes role, sensitivity, exposure, and business criticality, and that context helps you prioritize intelligently. Beginners sometimes interpret telemetry without context and therefore either overreact or underreact. When you attach events to assets and understand their importance, you can translate telemetry into risk. Risk translation is a durable intelligence win because it aligns security work with business priorities, which reduces wasted effort and improves the quality of decisions. Another durable win comes from understanding identity behavior, because many threats involve the misuse of identities rather than the breaking of systems. Identity telemetry includes login patterns, privilege use, access requests, and changes in account status, and these traces can reveal whether an account is behaving like the person or process it supposedly represents. For example, a normal user account suddenly attempting privileged actions or accessing unusual systems can be a meaningful signal. A service account that suddenly begins interactive style activity can be another signal that deserves attention. Identity telemetry is powerful because it connects actions to accounts, and accounts are often the lever attackers use to move through environments quietly. Beginners sometimes assume threat intelligence is mostly about malware, but many incidents are driven by credential misuse, and internal identity telemetry is one of the best sources for detecting that. Mining identity patterns over time can reveal where access controls are too permissive, where authentication failures spike, and where privilege behavior suggests systemic risk. Internal telemetry also supports durable intelligence wins when you treat alerts as inputs, not conclusions, and you mine the evidence behind them. Alerts can be noisy, and noisy alerts can train teams to ignore them, which is dangerous. A smarter approach is to look for which alerts correlate with real issues and which alerts repeatedly produce false positives, because that tells you where detection logic needs refinement. Over time, you can identify which signals are reliable for your environment and which are not, and that knowledge becomes a durable asset because it improves response quality. This is a kind of intelligence about your own detection system, which is important because detection is not static. Beginners often see alert tuning as a technical chore, but it is actually an intelligence activity because it involves interpreting evidence, evaluating confidence, and improving decision-making. When alert quality improves, everything downstream improves because responders trust their signals more and waste less time. That is a durable win that compounds daily. Another place internal telemetry pays off is in revealing the gap between assumed controls and actual behavior, which is where many organizations quietly carry risk. People often assume policies are followed, segmentation is effective, and privileged access is limited, but telemetry can show whether those assumptions hold. For example, you might discover that systems that should be isolated are communicating more broadly than expected, or that privileged accounts are used more often than policy suggests. You might find that configuration changes occur outside expected windows or without corresponding change records. These insights are durable because they point to structural issues, not one-off events, and structural issues can be corrected to reduce risk over time. This is also a powerful exam concept because it demonstrates that you understand how intelligence can reveal mismatches between intended security posture and observed reality. When you can identify and explain those mismatches, you are thinking like an intelligence professional, not just a log reader. Mining internal telemetry for durable intelligence wins also depends on data quality, because poor quality telemetry can create false trends and missed signals. Data quality includes consistent time, consistent identity mapping, adequate retention, and reliable coverage across critical systems. You do not need to be tool-specific to understand that if logs are missing, inconsistent, or short-lived, your ability to learn from them is reduced. A durable intelligence program treats telemetry quality as a foundational investment because better telemetry means better evidence, and better evidence means better decisions. Beginners sometimes view telemetry quality work as separate from intelligence, but it is actually part of intelligence because intelligence relies on evidence. If time is skewed, correlation breaks. If identity is inconsistent, attribution becomes unreliable. If retention is too short, you cannot compare patterns across weeks and months. Durable wins require telemetry you can trust and revisit. To close, internal telemetry becomes a durable intelligence engine when you approach it with clear questions, strong baselines, and disciplined pattern thinking that connects evidence to decisions. You mine across multiple telemetry sources, link events to asset and identity context, and focus on trends and recurrence that reveal systemic risk and recurring adversary behaviors. You treat alerts as evidence leads rather than as proof, and you invest in telemetry quality because data integrity and coverage determine how defensible your conclusions can be. Over time, this approach shifts you from reacting to external noise toward building a grounded view of what threats are truly relevant to your environment. That grounded view is what makes intelligence durable, because it keeps paying off through better prioritization, faster recognition of abnormal behavior, and clearer communication to stakeholders about what matters and why. When you learn to mine internal telemetry this way, you are not just collecting data. You are building a living, evidence-based understanding of your own risk reality, which is one of the strongest outcomes threat intelligence can deliver.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.